am SA with the author Sesh Corner, and I'm with co-host Wren Nightingale. And today, the lovely Elizabeth Clayton is our author spotlight. And with her, she's got a couple books out and one that's in progress, correct?
Yes. Correct.
Very nice. So before we get a little bit more into your book, go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself.
So I am Elizabeth Clayton. I have been writing books since I was very young. I'm a mom. I am a wife. I recently lost my mother, which really influenced a lot of writing for me. I live in a very small town in Kentucky. I don't know if I should say that part, but I did.
Hey, just don't say we're at in Kentucky.
Exactly.
That works. I won't say that part. I love, I've always loved reading. I'm an avid reader, and I love writing just as much. I could easily stay up till 3 a.m. reading or writing. So that's a little bit about me.
Very nice. And then before we continue our questions, if anybody in the audience has questions, we will read your questions aloud as well. So when did you start writing? Like, how old were you?
So the first book that I remember writing, and I use the term book very loosely, was I was 8. And I had a friend who didn't like to read. And it just amazed me that someone wouldn't like to read. And we had in common that we both love panda bears. And so I wrote her the absolute worst story in the world about panda bears. And every other word was misspelled, but I was like so proud of that. That was the first one I remember writing.
That's amazing.
Her mom had called and was like, well, we got that in.
So Essay mentioned that you have 2 books out and then you're working on another one. So for any audience members who may not know, what are the title of your 2 books that are out?
So I actually have 5 books that are out, but I stick with Shadow and Jewel just because that's the one I'm on. But my first series that I released is a young adult mystery coming of age story. Oh. And so I released that one under a different pen name in honor of my mom. But that was my first real trial and error, mostly error, but, baptism by fire moment. And then Shadow and Jewel is the one that I talk about because it's the one that I really love. It's from me versus, for someone else. And Shadow and Jewel and Broken and Bound. And they are both out right now. And I'm currently working on a companion novel.
Oh, okay. So for, let's just go ahead and stick with the ones that are under your Elizabeth pen name. How did you choose your title, and what significance does it hold for both the books?
So Shadow and Jewel, I didn't know what I was going to call it for a very long time. And it was the last chapter, and it just kind of occurred to me. And I mean, you guys know because you read it, but Shadow is a very big part of the story, and Jewel is a very big part of the story. So it got to play, excuse me, on the politics of the story, as well as heightening the dark versus light conflict. So I like that one. And I liked how short and punchy it was. It's not, it's easy to say. I don't stutter over it.
Yes.
You have me curious about second book title, though.
Yeah.
Broken and Bound.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. So we have our 2 main characters. How did you come up with their names? What was your process for that?
So I don't remember. Okay, this came to me when I was 17. And I want to say that I was really just obsessed with the name Avery. And I've always loved Lila, Layla, Leela was one that I liked. I'm not really sure other than it just felt right. And so it was between Layla and Jaden. And I've got Jaden on reserve for another one. So just luck of the die.
And based off of how far I've read so far, because unfortunately I have not finished it yet, but I'm over halfway, I really I cannot see Layla with the name Jaden. I just can't. I think
Layla say that too. I'm glad you went with Layla.
Still on Layla.
Yeah.
And I love it. I love her name.
What I know that it's kind of like more fantasy. Is fantasy the genre that you seem to gravitate towards more?
Yeah. I can write contemporary. I can write young adult. But I like the escapism of fantasy. I like especially because when I wrote this, I was in a very bad place in my life. Everything was out of control. I was spiraling, and I got to create this world that I could control, but it could be so magnificent, and there was answers to every problem, and there was everything that I needed I could put into this book, and you got elements of magic and things that don't happen every day. And so I do reading or just writing, I gravitate towards fantasy. I started with Star Wars fanfic, so I've always been more of fantasy versus reality.
Oh, that's really interesting that you went from like fan fiction for like sci-fi fantasy to like older fantasy. I like that little transition.
Yeah. It was,
go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was just gonna say there was a sci-fi one. It was between Shadow and Jewel and the sci-fi one, whichever one came first. And it just so happened that at that time I needed Avery more than I wanted to dive into the sci-fi. So Shadow and Jewel came first.
I needed Avery too in my life, so that's okay.
Don't we all?
What advice would you give someone writing in your genre?
To not underestimate the power of plot. It's fine to do it by the seat of your pants, and if that's your process, then that's fine. I'm not hating on it. But if you're going to delve into a deep magical system, if you're going to expand a world and you don't want plot holes, take the time to really dive into what you want and map it out so that you don't miss anything along the way and you're not going back and going, oh crap, what did I, you know?
Yeah.
So just take your time with it because it's not a race.
And that does lead into the next question of like, did you use a functional outline to help make sure you didn't have any plot holes?
I have a board and I'm looking at it right now, and it looks a lot like what I imagine a serial killer's board would look like.
That's beautiful.
There's pins everywhere. There's yarn that connects the plot so that I know who's going where, what's going what. I've got outlines of my characters and their backstories and their pictures, and I plot out each chapter, or no, not each chapter. I plot out a block, so it's like a scene in my head, and whatever's on this card has to happen before we move on to the next part. And then I've got where big moments happen. I have the chapters wrote down so that I can go back and read them again if I need to, if I have like a question, if I forget something. So I am very much so a plotter. And I only try to do, like when I'm actively writing, I only try to plot about 10 chapters at a time or 10 cards at a time so I don't get overwhelmed. Because, you know, we all know that the story changes. I could plot out the entire thing, and 10 chapters in, they're like, no, we're not doing that. And so, you know, you just gotta kind of go with it. That's why I plot, I have an over idea, but I'm not willing to just sacrifice the story to get my way. So, I'm flexible.
Right. So I know that you said that like we all know the story changes. How many drafts did you end up going through before you finally got your finished product?
So with Shadow and Jewel, honestly, it just kind of flowed. Like I said, though, I started when I was 17, and I could never really get the ending, like that satisfying end. I couldn't figure that out, so I didn't write it. And then I wrote chapters here and there, but it wasn't anything like, you know, book worthy. And so then just I published it in May, so I'd say like January I sat down and it just flowed, and I went through and I took out one or two things, but honestly a lot of it's just the same draft that it was when I first wrote it down. You know, it's prettier now and it's polished, but most of it's the original fully completed story.
That's amazing. I love that.
That one
I'll
just
ask the
kind of
next question, Ren.
Okay.
Whether it be published or work in progress, who is your favorite character and why?
Oof. You know, I saw this question and I was like, oh man. Okay, so it's hard to say because when I'm writing the book, 100% I love that character. However, the book that I'm writing right now, I'm obsessed with. I absolutely love the character. I feel like so much of me is in her. And I can't say her name because she's a spoiler. But like personally, I am battling with invisible illness and lupus and all this stuff. And because what do we do if we don't take out our issues on our characters, you know? So she has these issues. She's always been kind of the underdog, kind of the overlooked. And she's just she's sarcastic and she's funny and she's also got a really big heart and I just love her. And I know that you guys will too whenever you meet her, but obviously you can't yet because you don't know her. But if I'm choosing from Shadow and Jewel, if I'm choosing from that one, I love Avery. Avery is just, I love him so much. I love Lucian, but I love Avery because I made Avery when I needed Avery. I needed someone to sit in the shadows with me and not try to fix it, just not be scared of it. So I made him to be who I needed in that moment. And so he's always going to be my favorite.
Can you tell us a little about Avery and his background and personality without spoiling too much to where people need to read the story to know more?
Okay. So Avery had a very hard childhood. Avery had a lot put on him very young. He was responsible for more than any child should be, and he endured a lot for that. He takes responsibility very seriously. Family, responsibility, all of that is his core. Like, without that, he feels no value. So he is someone who always wants to do the best, but doesn't really know how to. He will fight for you, even when you won't fight for yourself. And he's not afraid just to sit there and quiet with you either. You know, he doesn't have to have long speeches, though he does give good ones. He doesn't have to fix it. He can just be there with you and it doesn't scare him. And he goes through a whole lot, and he really values the connections that he makes because he knows that, like, you can't take them for granted. You know, everything is temporary. And so whenever he loves you or he falls in love with someone or something, like, that shapes so much of him because he values that more than most people would.
And I definitely see that with Avery. I really love how Avery handles the situations that he gets thrown into, and he just kind of like sits there like calculating, and I really love that about him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I do too. So I don't know if this is part of the question or not, but I'm just going to throw it in. I made Avery right after my mom died, and I was going through this horrible dark stuff, and you know, I had sat at her bedside as she died. And that was incredibly difficult, incredibly hard for me. She died of brain cancer, which is horrible. But the whole time, like, you know, people would come up and they'd try to fix it. They would try to offer the right words, or they would try to explain the pain that I was feeling, or try to take away the grief. And like, I wanted that grief. That grief meant that I loved her. That grief meant that she was with me. It still does. I didn't want someone to fix it. I wanted someone to just sit by me and let me feel it and let me know I wasn't alone. Mm-hmm. And so Avery, like, that is his core function, is you're not alone. I'm going to sit with you, but you're also going to have to go through this right now. So that's a lot of him.
That makes me love him more.
Right?
So without spoiling too much, is there a particular scene or passage that you're really incredibly proud of in the story?
Honestly, I love the whole story. The whole thing is one that I'm just obsessed with, really. I love it. I still read it. I wrote it and I still read it. Fight scenes are very challenging for me to write, like the fast action, because if you read my work, you know I'm a wordy person. I go in depth in describing, and so trying to get a punchy, fast action scene is not something that comes easy for me. At the end of the book, there's a punchy, fast-paced, boom, 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 things are happening, you just got to go with it. And I'm proud of that one because it was very challenging as a writer for me to get through and still have it come out the way I wanted it to.
Oh, I haven't gotten that far yet, so I'm excited to see how you wrote that scene.
Yeah, I think I'm around 70% now. I was reading before we went live.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I see how it is, essay.
Hey, you were ahead of me the last time I checked.
I love Wren's commentary that I get. She's like, are you kidding me? What's happening now? I love it. I live for that.
I'm so vocal for my commentary.
I love it though. That's what in the comments, Chaos does the same thing when she's reading. She's like texting me at 3 a.m. I hate you. I can't believe you do this, but I love you.
I got a couple people reading it because me and her were our buddy reading Kate's, and I had brought yours up, so now we're buddy reading both.
I love it.
At the same time.
That's so fun. And it's such a reactive book, too. I have found. I didn't realize it would be so reactive. But it is apparently like a really gets in your feelings and so reactive to people. And I love that. I'm like, tell me all of it. I'm here for it. Tell me how I hurt you.
Right. I think that's just a little darkness in us, though. We kind of like hurting people sometimes.
I need that power trip now.
What has been the hardest part of the writing process?
Showing myself in that way, opening that part of me to the world, leaving it open for criticism or for people to say whatever they say. I mean, it's been genuinely well received, but just being that vulnerable and open, knowing that this has been a part of me for 20 plus years, and just saying, here, look at my inside world and judge me for it. You know, like that to me, I have a hard time opening up when it counts and really sharing those deeper parts of myself. And there's a lot of really deep stuff in Shadow and Jewel for me, you know, that I drew on personal experiences. And so just sharing that with people is difficult, but that's probably one of the hardest parts for me.
I agree with you on that one. It is hard getting your own personal self finally out there, especially when it's your baby book, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's hard. Which passage gave you the most difficulty to write? I think you kind of did mention it a little bit, but...
I did, but there's actually... That one was most challenging, but one of the hardest ones I had to write was one that if you've read it, everyone knows it, but I'm not going to say it if you haven't read it. It's a plot changer, and this everything twists, and everything changes, especially for Avery. In a matter of seconds, boom, everything changes. Chaosness. And I knew that it had to happen. I knew that it was going to happen because it's so much bigger than that moment. But I cried for days over how to make it happen in the right way. And I ended up going very internal and drawing on a lot of my experiences with my mom and things and writing it from that place. And so again, just opening that up and leaving out, but also leaving it in a way that anyone could interpret it their way. Anyone can put their opinion into it in that way. That was challenging.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one when it comes to the grief process, because I had struggle in a similar passage in my book too, so I completely understand that.
Yeah.
Were there sections in your book that you think required like a lot of revisions in it? Like it wasn't just sitting right with you?
So not so much in Shadow and Jewel. In Broken and Bound, yes. There's still, like, I was really afraid to let it out to publish it because I thought there's no way people are going to like it as well as the first book. It's just going to flop. I was very insecure about publishing that one. And there is an entire scene in there that I went back and forth. I would take it out and I put it back. And I take it out and I put it back. And I take it out, over and over and over because I couldn't figure out, like, it was necessary to develop characters, but it was so unnecessary to the plot itself. And so I was like, is this just going to bore people or are they going to respond to it? And so I left it in, and it's in there. And I've had 2 people tell me that they're really glad I left the scene in, that it really did help the characters. And it's okay not to always be so moving the plot. It's okay to take a minute and breathe in a section every now and then. So that was Broken and Bound. I struggled with that one more than Shadow and Jewel.
Okay. So you can talk about either book or both books, but was there a scene from either book or both books that you had to maybe cut out before the final version that you wanted in there?
So there is an expanded chapter. I still say it's expanded in Shadow and Jewel, where things are a little more spicy, which is not something that is in my finished copies. I didn't feel like it honored the story as well as keeping it as it was. It wasn't something that felt true to who Layla and Avery were at that time. So I kept it on the side, and I always thought later, I still think later, like if I ever do like an email newsletter or something, I might send it out, but it didn't make the final cut because it just felt like it didn't give them the depth that they need. Like, sure, there was like a momentary gratification, but there's so much more than that. They are so much deeper than a moment, so got cut.
Which we kind of touched base on the other day when we were talking.
Yeah.
Because with how you write, your writing style, I couldn't see something going more in-depth spicy than what you have.
Yeah. And that's what, in the comments, Chaos read it, and she even said the same. She's like, no, it's good, but it's not the tone of the whole book. It switches tone, so it would have pulled out a little bit of the magic of the moment, So I'm okay that it didn't make it. I feel like it's still a steamy book. There may not be spice or explicit stuff, but I do feel like there's, the moments. So I'm okay with it not making the final cut.
Oh god, where am I at? Which published book? Sorry, essay. I'm not really sure about this question. So I might skip that one.
I think it was part of the question that you just read.
Oh, okay. So I think I'll just boop. Okay. How has your writing evolved since you first began publishing?
So I have really learned the value of sensory details. And going way back to the first series that I put out, that was my big learning one. So from Shadow and Jewel, like, I don't want you to read it. I want you to live it. I want you to feel it. So I really worked on sensory immersion. That was a big thing for me because it's one thing to describe, she's sitting in a room with white walls or whatever, but that doesn't really give you that sensory immersion. There's more than just what you see. It's what you feel. And so that to me is probably my biggest growth, is that I've really tried to work on not just what your eyes give you, but what you feel, what you smell, what you hear, really immerse into something, because that's what I want when I read. I don't want to remember that I'm reading. I want to live it. So
yeah, exactly. Really immerse the reader into where that character is. And I also really love the perspective too, because you get a lot of kind of inner thoughts a little bit too, which is really nice.
Yeah.
Can you share I mean, this might have been explained, but in case it's different, can you share a personal life experience that inspired a character or scene?
So we all know where Avery came from. Let me think, because I mean he's the obvious one. So, but Layla, we can talk about Layla. She came from every magazine I saw growing up, from every show that we saw growing up, where the beautiful girl gets the best life. And, you know, a girl is only worth what she looks like. And, you know, the princess storytell that goes on and on and on our entire lives. The beautiful princess gets the happy ever after. And I decided that I kind of wanted to burn that to the ground. So I did. Like, yes, she's beautiful, but the price of that is so much more than, you know, if she wasn't. She has this horrible life and, you know, this really childhood that's just really traumatic, really, whenever you think about more and more. And the things she goes through, like, if she wasn't so beautiful, would she have to be going through this? Would this have happened to her if she was valued for more than just her looks? So, I mean, and then her personality, you know, I didn't want her to have just the weak personality. I'm proud of her growth throughout the story, because even she'll tell you she started as a selfish, self-indulgent child because that's all she ever had to be. And then the moment, like, she gets her eyes open, then she realizes the world is bigger than her. And she develops empathy and sympathy. And as she goes, she has these experiences where people need her. And she gets to be what someone else needs for a change. And she grows in her depth of character. And she has a choice that she could either really be selfish in. She could be that person she was raised to be. She could be the person she had been. Or she can be the woman she wants to be, the person that she's growing into, the person who she knows that she needs to be. And so when she makes that choice, then I feel like the growth of her character really, really just takes off.
Yeah, I really do like her as a character too. I like that she kind of did grow up in that society, that belief that, like, oh, you know, like, I'm the princess, I get what I want. But then when she actually sees the truth, she's just like, oh, actually.
Hey, wait a minute. Not everyone has this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Essay, are you okay if I skip a couple of questions?
Yeah, just mark them out because I'm okay reading a couple.
Okay. Let me see here. How do you think that your books have changed you since writing?
So I've definitely had to become more confident because I have to talk about them, and it's not just my own little secret world. I put myself out there, so someone's got to back it up. You know, if I'm not pushing it, of course, you know, you guys help me, but if you're not out there advocating for your book, then no one's going to be, basically, because no one's going to fight for it like you do. And 100%. So being more confident, taking more risks, just kind of owning a part of me that maybe I used to kind of hide away, you know, because it used to be Lizzie land, you know, and it was just my own secret little world. And now it's out there. Sorry about my eye. It's out there for everyone. And you kind of have to get confident in sharing that part of yourself. And so I think I've grown a little more confident from it. And by little more, I do mean like little tiny bit more.
Gotta really build that second layer of skin, you know?
Yeah.
So how do you personally handle feedback and criticism?
When criticism or feedback is offered, then I listen to it. And, you know, it sounds bad to say, but my husband is like my biggest critic, which I appreciate in some ways, because he's like, no, I'm saying this because I know that you can do better than this. So, like, what does that even mean? So oftentimes I will cry, but in the back of my mind, I'm asking myself while I'm writing the next part, okay, so does this answer that question? Does this fill in that plot hole? Does this do what it needs to do? For the most part, all of my feedback beyond him has been super positive, super encouraging. So it's helped bolster that. But then I've had, one or two things that there's no criticism offered. It's just questions. So I'm wondering, like, what did I not do to their standards? So I'm always asking myself that.
I'll ask the next question. Do you show anyone your progress, and how do you determine when a piece is finished?
I do. So I did in Shadow and Jewel, and I didn't in Broken and Bound, but the one that I'm writing now, like every other chapter I've sent to a friend of mine, to just like, hey, what do you think about this? Like, does this still flow? Does it still... Which, because she's obsessed with the characters. She loves them from the beginning. Like, I plotted it out with her, so I feel like, she wants to read it. And she gives me feedback. She's like, hey, so yeah, this is a good part, but it would be better if you deepened this on this or whatever. So, I take that into consideration. And, if it works at that point, I do that, or I keep it in mind for the next part to, continue to grow. So I appreciate that. I do intend to use beta and alpha and all the other kind of readers this time. I've never done that before. So usually it's just me being critical of myself with Shadow and Jewel and Broken and Bound. But I'm excited to kind of change that and get other opinions.
There you go. Nerderella's World says, pick me, I promise I'll read it.
That's what I was giggling at.
He's my number one fan. Like,
that's what they said.
I joke and say all the time, she's the leader of my cult. Like, if you want in on the Shadow and Jewel cult, you got to go through her.
I got it. How do you handle writer's block?
Take a shower. Take a very long shower. A lot of my best thoughts have come to me in the shower. It's funny because we were just laughing about this last night with a couple other of my friends who were on here. But yeah, sometimes it's just a matter of taking a shower, walking away. Sometimes, like, I just put it down, take a break, and I just let it go. And I'll read, and I will, exert my mental energy elsewhere, and then it'll just come to me. Whether I'm sleeping or taking a shower, whatever it is, it'll just come. So sometimes I just need to have a fight with my husband, and that inspires me. It's just looking for the inspiration for whatever it is I need, but also understanding that sometimes it's best just to let it be for now.
Right.
Because it's always going to come back.
Exactly, yeah. What do you hope that readers will take away from your books?
I hope they find peace. I hope that whatever it is that they're reading it for, whether it's escape or entertainment or whatever, I hope that they find that in my book, and I hope that it gives them a moment of just setting everything else down and being able to live in this world for a little bit. I know it can be a heartbreaking, sad world, but also, like, it's a beautiful place, and there's a lot of beautiful things that happen, and I want to give them that peace for a few moments.
Yeah.
Like, if they got a book hangover, I would love that.
Oh man, book hangovers are crazy.
Yes.
Can you describe a little bit of what your writing space looks like?
Chaotic. Looking at it, like I said earlier, it literally looks like a serial unaliver moved in here. I've got Post-its and index cards everywhere. I just got a new keyboard and it's beautiful. I had to get a pretty keyboard to help inspire me. So it's purple. It's my favorite color. I sit, like you can see behind me, my husband sits here. So I'm at my writing desk. We're very close to each other. So I often listen to music. If I'm writing, I have to have peanut butter M&Ms. It's just part of my ritual. Yeah, so it's nothing big or crazy. It's just messy.
Yeah. Sometimes it's like that.
Yeah.
Yep.
What does your typical writing day look like?
So I have very young children. I have single-digit children, and they both have special needs. So, and I homeschool. So my day is typically filled with them. And then when they go to bed, I usually, I can think about it all day. And I can think about what I want to write all day. And I'll jot down little notes to myself. But it's when they go to bed that I can sit down and I write. So typically from 9 to 2 or so, I'm sitting there and I'm typing and writing if I'm having a good time at it. Sometimes when my husband is home, I'll sit and I'll write whenever I can. But it's nothing really planned out so much as just taking advantage of the time I get and making the most of it.
Right. Would you say that writing is your full-time career?
Yeah. Well, I say mom, but yeah, because who isn't a mom and so right? It doesn't matter what secular do. Everyone's full-time job is mom. But yeah, so I love writing. I love it. It's such a big part of me that it doesn't feel like a job. It feels like a necessity. It feels like if I'm not writing, then I'm not being true to myself, that I'm just holding in all this stuff that needs to come out. So yes, it's my full time, but also it's not really a job as much as a survival skill. So.
Yeah, survivor. I love that. I couldn't even say it. Do you hear from your readers often? What's the common thing that they tell you after they've read your book?
So the readers that I hear from often tell me that they're crying most of the time. It's beyond me because I know that there's at least 2 heartbreaking parts. I know that. I wrote that. But the part that other people cry in, it's just why are you crying? No, but I hear that, and it makes me glad because it means that they love the story. You don't cry if you don't love the characters. So I love that. I say it's heartbreaking, but it also puts you back together. That you may cry, but you're also healed. Yeah, in the comments, Nerdella says she threw the book. Chaos says she cried throughout. Although Chaos also got healed throughout. So, yeah, I love hearing that people fall in love with Layla and Avery. I love the moment of unexpected rage. Are you kidding me? Why would you do that? Or your comments, just make them kiss. My God.
It's so frustrating.
Just let them do it. I love that.
I like how I think below me. Below me.
My whole experience is just kiss already.
Just my God. I love it. Josie was in here, I think, a little bit ago, and I told her that she's not allowed to buy a hard copy first. She has to buy the soft copy, the paperback, so that when she throws it, she doesn't break any glass windows. I was listen, I'm not responsible. So, yeah, I love that feedback, though. That feedback is the one that inspires me to keep going, because I know that it's working. It's getting in your heart. It's getting in. I love that. So, I live for that. That's pretty much the feedback I've gotten so far.
Very nice. What does success mean to you as an author?
Well, I think there's 2 ways to answer that, because there's the personal way and then the way that we all would love to be famous and rich and have it, but I would love to walk into a coffee shop and have someone reading my book. or to have someone come up like, oh, did you write this? And like, will you sign it for me? I would love that. But also, on the flip side of that, I would love to be the book that changes someone's day. To be the book that is someone's comfort read. You know, like, I'm going through something, I can't do this alone anymore. I just need to escape for a little bit. Let me get Shadow and Jewel. Like, that to me would be huge.
Yeah,
it definitely is a comfort read.
Yes. Whoa. Sorry, my page scrolled down all the way to the bottom. So can you share, so you said that you are writing a companion novel. Can you share an interesting fact that someone might not know that might not spoil anything?
Yeah. So, that was loud. Sorry. So, the book that I'm writing has Easter eggs all through Shadow and Jewel. And I can't remember if there's any Broken and Bound or not, but I do know that they're in Shadow. And I think that they might be some in Broken and Bound too. But it's just little bits and pieces. So, and I'm going to reveal the cover soon, so I don't mind saying the title. But it's Secrets of the Bone Dagger. So throughout Shadow and Jewel, there's little tidbits where people are talking about this mythological bone dagger and like the powers.
I caught one of them.
Yes, yeah. So, you know, I had actually plotted to have that be a bigger part of Shadow and Jewel. Like, it was supposed to be like this big part of Shadow and Jewel, but of course it didn't work out that way. So instead of leaving it as a plot hole, I was like, hey, we're going to go over here and we're just going to continue so-and-so's story and make it about this, and plot hole solved. So that's what it's going to be.
Are there any projects, so obviously you have your Bone Dagger. Is there any behind the scenes that you would like to share? So like how you're working on it, or
the series is not ending with Bone Dagger. There will be more. There will be a story that goes back in time and tells the history of someone whom we all love. There will
Is it who I think it might be?
Probably. There will be one that follows, which you have to read Broken and Bound to really get that, but it'll expand on the rebellion leader a little bit. And then there will be a novella at the very end that will I'm trying to think how to say it. It will be Crovis. So he will get his own novella at the end, and hopefully,
yay!
We all get a little bit of peace and happiness for Crovis.
Very
so
cute.
That'll be the very last one.
Is there any of the questions that I didn't ask that maybe you wanted to ask, or should we open it up to the audience?
What inspired you to become a writer and to publish?
I don't know that any one thing inspired me other than I just needed to. I used to write poems just all the time. I wrote a crazy amount of poems, and those I would publish. I was a very angsty teenager, and so I would get on my little, it wasn't Wattpad, it was something else, but I would publish poem after poem after poem, and just my whole life, and but before that, I would write, I wrote fan fiction for years just because I had stories and I wanted to tell them. And I kept binders on binders on binders stacked underneath my bed of all my books. I think my last count was somewhere like 30 or 40 stories that I had shoved underneath my bed. And I would give them to my friends to read and we'd all discuss. So, I guess what really inspired me to publish this time with my first series is my mom had always said that she wanted to see my name on a book. Everything that I wrote, I would read her my poems and all this stuff, and she'd say, you need to publish this. We need to we need to publish this. You need to, do this. And for a little bit as a teenager, I queried publishers, but nothing ever really came from it. So I was like, oh, I'll do it later. It's fine. I don't have time right now. I don't have time. And so she got sick, and she passed away within 11 months from the first diagnosis, surgeries, all this to 11 months. And the whole time she was telling me to write a book about her illness. Write this story, write what's going on here so that someday someone else who's going through this can have this. And I will probably never write that book, but I do regret that I didn't give her what she asked of me, that I didn't ever give her that moment of being able to see my name on a book that was published. So the first series that I wrote in honor of her, and I used her middle name as my last name. So it's Elizabeth Gale is those, because I thought she's the whole reason my name is even on a book. Like, her should be beside mine. And then once I got those 3 out, it was like, well, now what? Because I don't want to be done. I don't feel like this is over. I feel like this is just beginning. And so Shadow and Jewel, I was like, well, okay, so then now I'm going to write for me and just see what happens. And if people are like, this sucks, this is terrible, then I'll keep it for me. Then I won't continue to push this because I don't need that kind of negativity. But turns out people liked it. So we keep pushing.
Yeah. So I just asked the audience if they have any questions, but while they are typing up if they do, what platforms do you promote on? So I know you have TikTok. Is there any other social media that you use?
I have IG. I don't want to get anybody in trouble by saying other names. So I think we all know what IG is. And then I have TikTok. That's pretty much it at this moment. I need to build my own website, but I haven't, because I don't know how, and I haven't taken the time to learn yet. And then I do a lot of in-person events whenever I can. Most of the promotion, though, is word of mouth. I found that is the most influential, best way to get someone to be interested in my book, is to have it, word of mouth recommended. So.
All right. And then for anyone on here that may not be following you, can you share your tags for IG and TikTok?
Yeah, it's just Elizabeth Clayton. They're the same on both. So you can tick my name right here and push the little plus button. If you haven't, it's author Elizabeth Clayton. Why do you hurt your fans and characters on somebody else's life? Because I want you to be emotionally invested in the story. Will there be a special edition of Broken and Bound? Yes. At some point. But not soon. It'll probably be maybe next November or next October.
Oh, okay.
So just because I made my own special editions for Shadow and Jewel, as you know, and I will never be that deluded again.
Adventurous.
I will 100% find someone to do that for me.
All right. Well, I think we're going to go ahead and wrap it up here. Thank you, everybody, for coming and joining us on our TikTok Live while we interviewed Elizabeth Clayton on her books. You can follow her, as she said, on IG or TikTok at author Elizabeth Clayton. You can follow Essay or me on TikTok. We also have IG, Facebook. You can follow Author Sesh Corner. We need 100 followers in order for us to do more interviews like this on that channel. So it's the.author.sesh.corner. And you can do as many things as you can. Leave a like, share. We'll be posting this on Spotify and YouTube, so you'll find us there too.
Thank you, guys.
Of course.
You're welcome.
Bye.
And I'm sorry I'm sick.
Yeah.
No, you're going to feel better. That's miserable.
Yes.
Yeah.
Feel
I'm
better.
sorry though. Bye.
Bye-bye.